Should we do big room planning if we only have like 60 people in our IT area? Today's 5 minutes short. I'm Joshua Barnes. I'm joined by Al Shalloway. And so big room planning, right? It's popular. Definitely when you do big room planning, there's a lot of energy that comes from it. But what should we do if we're not a 200 or 300 person or 125 person team or area? Let's say we got 60 people.
Yeah, well, let's look
What
at
do you
what
think?
the advantage of big room planning is, and I'm a fan of big room planning. But there are a lot of factors, and when I say big room planning, that may not be the same thing as you may think about it. There are a lot of things I do. I'm not going to talk about today in terms of using minimum business increments, getting it prepped. There's a lot of prep work for big room planning that's useful and is agile. But I think there are four factors to big room planning that you have to look at. Actually, I'll take it back.
Are you
There's
going to do a
five.
countdown? Are we going to go four?
No, we won't count down. No, we won't count down. So there are really three factors, but one gets broken down into three factors. So that's five. So there's what I call managing dependencies. So there are three aspects of it. So there's one of the factors, and there are three aspects. First, you need to make them visible. That's kind of identifying them. Then you have to set up a plan to manage them. And then you have to use that to eliminate them. We want to have value streams that are more or less autonomous. So the planning is good, but planning the work isn't just the big thing. It's managing these dependencies. So that's factor one. Now, factor two is what I call the social aspect. I have worked in companies where, man, that thing was just amazing. And people got together. Now, these were maybe really big ones, where we had hundreds of people all over the world. But if you have 60 people and they all know each other, then this is not a big deal. But a lot of companies I've seen aren't that big and they don't ever get together, and it's worth it. Okay. So there is, of course, the cost if you're not all in one place. So there is that social aspect. And then the next one is the time frame. So if you think big room planning means 3 months, no, don't do that. Big room planning doesn't have to be 3 months. Big room planning just means everybody's gotten together, and it can be virtual. Okay. I do like people all together, but you know what? Virtual works well too, and there are ways to run that. I'm sorry, just gonna get some noise. Yeah. So the question is, look at what are these factors? Is it at least make my work visible? Is it worth creating a dependency mapping? Then can I manage them? Then can I eliminate them? What's the time frame? If you're 60, I will say this, maybe once you can do a plan for a month out or 2 months out. But by God, after you've done that once, you better be at 2-week increments maximum. 60 people should not be working more than 2 weeks in advance. Well, let me put it this way. I've not seen one that needs to. And in fact, even really big companies with hundreds or thousands in the planning, 2 week out is not that hard if you do it the right way. Now, you might have a vision further out. So don't confuse big room with long-term planning. Those are two different things. So the question is, how are you handling the visibility work? How are you handling managing the dependencies you discovered? How do you are going to eliminate them? What are the social aspects of things? And what is the time frame? And those are the questions you want to look at. And that could be big room. What I've often seen for small companies is you really mostly want to do flow model with some kind of cadence. So if you've not been doing Agile and now you want everybody to work together, what you're really interested in is getting that visibility of what's there. And then you want to go 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weeks, and be prepping for it and working together. Now, I'll throw out one thing here. 60 people is in the time frame of this system I've come up with. We call BLAST, basically an agile solution team. And the BLAST is like one team working on one thing, but the ideas of it are consistent. You want to learn using flow, theory, constraints, and lean how to manage workflow going through things. That's not meaning you have perfect cross-functional teams. That means you understand how you can work in a cadence and how the teams can interact with each other. This is one thing we do quite differently than mostly what's done out there, is we don't come up with the teams and bind them together. We look at the whole and then see how to decompose and work to them using flow, lean, iterations, cadence when it's useful. So that's what you want to think about. What are the problems? What are the challenges? And, I just got an idea I'm going to do, Joshua. As you know, I've just started a workshop called Creating Coaching and Coordinating Multiple Teams, where we actually go up to about 60, 70 people. But there's a book, and I'll start putting that documentation in, like what chapter would be good for these 5 minutes. If you're interested in learning a little more, you don't need to take a course, just read some stuff that's pertinent to this.
Yeah, I think that would help.
Yeah. Anyway, I hope that you found that useful. When we put these out there, ask questions. We're happy to answer. This is the whole idea. This is how we learn. This is how you learn.
Yeah. Thanks everyone if you're watching this live or on replay, and we'll see you on the next one.